I'm Rajini Aital, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, Maharani's Arts College for Women, Mysore. Drive theory. Drives or impulses are pressures coming from within ourselves, but without conscious thought. A need arises in our body. We then strive to reduce this need and to find satisfaction. The amount of energy used to satisfy the impulse depends on the strength of the need. In Civilization and its Discontents, he described two basic drives, eros and tantos, love and death in Greek. Eros, a positive creating force, is a life instinct and includes self-preservation and therefore the need for food, water and shelter. It also includes the preservation of the species, making sexuality a powerful force. He focused on the sex drive, believing it to be central to the human nature. By sexuality, he meant more than adult sexual behavior and included all forms of physical pleasure. The energy force of Eros he called the libido. Thanatos refers to the drive that provides us to aggressive behavior, including self-destructive acts. Freud believed that since animate being evolved out of the inanimate things, there was a tendency for them to return to this inanimate state, often referred to as the death fish. The conflict between the opposing forces of Eros and Thanatos are present throughout our lives. The existence of this intra-psychic, that is within ourselves, conflict is something we all experience, and any differences between us are only a question of degree. High or low conflict, more or less intense, more or less manageable. Throughout our life, we experience variations in this intra-psychic conflict. When our innate drives are not satisfied, we experience frustration and tension. Freud assumed that normally healthy behaviors are directed at reducing tension to acceptable levels. For example, a hungry baby, energized by its libido, has a goal of obtaining nourishment. The object of that goal is a mother's nipple. If the goal is not achieved, tension is felt by the baby and it will continue to behave with the goal of reducing this tension by sucking anything in reach. Other schools of thought agree that the conflict connected to the drives is of central importance, though they disagree over how to categorize them. Alder believed that Freud's insistence on biological drives was very restrictive. He believed that we all suffered from inferiority complexes and that the main goal of human beings were therefore to achieve superiority. Jung saw the sex drive as a small cog in a very much larger wheel containing a number of other important drives, such as spiritual and cultural drives. Kellen suggested that the primary motivation of human being is to seek relationships with other people or objects. Freud's model of the mind has three elements, which his translators have called by the Latin words the id, the ego, and the superego. He believed that human behavior is determined through their interactions. The three structures do not correspond to any anatomical areas within the brain but should be seen as metaphors which we can use to understand the workings of the mind. They are linked to his ideas about the unconscious. The id is the most primitive part of our personality and the part we are born with. Perhaps Freud called it the it because this part of the mind does not differentiate us much from other people. The id contains the basic biological drives such as hunger and thirst as well as the sex drive. It does not know right from wrong and knows nothing about what is possible or impossible in the real world. It simply knows what it wanted and drives us to go and get satisfaction. To avoid psychic pain, the id operates according to the pleasure principle. It seeks immediate satisfaction. The id is totally unconscious. It drives us without our awareness. We are not born with a superego, but acquire it during childhood. Unlike the id, which is made up of demands from within individuals, the superego is made up of demands from outside, from our parents, society, and culture. It is as if a critical and ever watchful parent is inside our heads, awaiting to challenge any behavior driven by the id which does not conform to its dictates. The superego is partly unconscious and partly conscious. We are unaware of some of our internalized moral judgments, but we are aware of others. We develop an idea of what kind of a person we should be. Freud sometimes used the term the ego ideal to refer to this idealistic standard. Mediating between the primitive id and the vigilant superego is the ego. We can think of this structure as an adult part of our personality. The ego is concerned with rational thinking and brings the various parts of the personality together. It contains the sense of self and also includes functions such as memory, perception, and learning. The superego maintains the moral code of an individual through feelings of guilt and depression. If the ego does not listen to its demands, when the ego acts in harmony with the superego, for example, by resisting temptation, the superego can reward it by increasing self-esteem. Megan was tempted by her school friends to skip classes and to go to the park. Her superego told her that this would be severely disapproved by her very strict parents, while her pleasure-seeking id urged her to join her friends. She resolved this conflict by deciding not to go to avoid feeling guilty in her parents' presence afterwards. When her friends were caught and punished, her superego rewarded her with feelings of superiority. Both the id and the superego are unrealistic, and either can dominate the personality. A healthy personality is seen as one with a strong ego capable of working out compromises between the three forces, enabling the individual to adjust to the real world while at the same time satisfying at least partially the demands of the id.